Alright, guys, I just got back from seeing Wicked at the Amazon Prime early screening. And going into this movie, I didn't have any expectations because I had never seen the Broadway show. I really didn't think too much of this project when it was being announced and talked about. I'm not a big Ariana Grande fan. I don't really like her music, which is fine. Her music's not really targeted at me, right? But I also don't really care for her as an actress. And since, what I know her from is Victorious, and she's annoying in that show. And she's not really done enough outside of that to really make me go, oh, okay, she's been in this project. I'm like, okay. And it felt so dated to me, this project, because, Wicked is very famous for, outside of the Broadway sphere, inspiring that genre of movies like Maleficent, of what if the bad guy really wasn't the bad guy in all these famous stories, where Wicked is like the good version of that. It's kind of weird how it inspired all these movies but never became a movie until now. But I just didn't think much of it. I mean, I was like, there's Gladiator 2, there's Moana 2, there's all these movies coming out right now. And it's like, why would I care about Wicked? It also, I don't know. So, I went to go see it at the Amazon Prime release screen because number one, I'm going to go for you guys, like my viewers. I also work at a theater. I like to watch movies. So if customers ask me questions, I understand, what I'm telling them, right? Because I've seen the movie. And also, part of me was just curious because I haven't seen the Broadway show, like I said. So I'm just curious what this story is. It's going to be 2 parts, I heard. So I was like, okay, let me go check this out. So I sat in that theater. And for minute one, I was pretty hooked into this movie. And I was very shocked about this movie. In fact, I will say this is a great movie. For the most part. I had a couple issues that held it back just a little bit. But not enough for me to really have anything like that. I am going to talk some spoilers, but I'll warn you before the spoilers. We'll keep the rest of this non-spoiler. Just because I know the film's not out yet. But I also don't want to re-record a spoiler review. Because I don't really have that much spoiler stuff to talk about. So, if you want to click off before I talk spoilers, I will let you know. So, I think what's really surprising about this movie for me is it's just really resonant emotionally. Like, I really got into the drama of the story and the world. And also, this is a really well done film. Like, the moment this movie started, I was like, holy shit. The cinematography, the look of this film, it felt very grand still and epic. All the musical numbers had tons of extras and they were hugely well choreographed, incredible dancing, cinematography. It all looked fantastic. And then I looked up the budget. It was only 145 million. And I was thinking about that Oz and the Great and Powerful Disney movie. That movie cost 275 million or something like that. Or over 200 million dollars. And you just see the difference of like people who are spending the money to really make something as good as it can be, and then people are just throwing fucking money out of nowhere. So this film looked grand scale. It was beautifully shot, had incredible grand numbers. The songs were great, and if this felt like some older styles of musicals, like I like Wonka and some of these other movies we've gotten recently. But a lot of those movies feel very auto-tuned, very fixed up to sound better than they are. This movie didn't feel that way. Also, I know there was CGI, right? Obviously, the flying monkeys are CGI and all of these things. You could tell. But there's so much of, like, moments where I can't tell where the CGI started and where the practical effects were. Like, I've seen some behind the scenes look at this and I was like, wow, this is really impressive. It's just really, really well done, this movie. The cast is great. Everybody does a great job. I think the only one that did kind of a weak job was Ariana Grande. I could tell she was trying, but I felt like at points she was just a little, like, maybe you're trying a little bit too hard. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, this is just a really well done movie. I think other than Ariana Grande, my 2 points that just really bug me with this film is I really didn't vibe with the length of this movie. This is a 2 hour and 40-minute movie. And even though I enjoyed this movie and was hooked from minute one, the way this movie started really hooked me, I felt the length. And a part of that is I did watch it later in the evening, so I'm a little bit tired. But even that, like, was saying that, I could still felt like some of these sequences should have been cut down a little bit. And then there's so many, and because this is a part one, and we'll get to that part in a minute, it did feel like certain plot lines would like start and disappear from the movie and then come back later, and it felt very awkward. But it didn't feel awkward because of like the fact of what I'm telling you, which is that it is a part one. You know, part two is going to wrap up these storylines. Felt more that way because of the fact that the pacing just felt off, and it just needed some fine tuning of the pacing. I don't really know what scenes or what to cut, but it felt like maybe some scenes could have been like a minute less, a few seconds less, whatever it is. Just tighten up that length just a little bit. But the other thing that bugged me with this movie is called Wicked. The movie starts, says Wicked Part 1. So it's very clearly telling you, hey, this is Part 1, Part 2 is coming. It ends with the to be continued. But if you're a casual moviegoer, you don't know that shit. You're buying a ticket to a movie and you're expecting a complete story. And I think that's really dirty of Universal to hide the fact that this is a Part 1, Part 2 the way that they're doing. I think there's no reason this movie couldn't keep its original title and be Wicked Part 1. It would have made this movie, I think, just more palatable, I think, for the general audience. Maybe that's just me, but I thought that was a really dirty thing. So let me talk about spoilers. Click off now if you don't want to hear that. I was very shocked by the animal subplot. I thought that subplot was very resonant for me. I was like, oh, what's going on here? And that was the one point in the movie where that plot line disappeared from the movie at certain points, came back in very awkward ways because of the length, and that bugs me. But I did really enjoy most of that stuff. I also just thought, a lot of that really worked for me. Peter Dinklage was really good. I also really liked the stuff they did with the Wizard. That was really cool. Jeff Goldblum was a great choice for that. And the way he's like, she yells at him and he's like, he has no power. Just such a great idea to make this whole story the way they did. It's a really well-crafted story. There's a lot of allegories you can read into the story of like maybe Alphaba being green is a metaphor for someone being black or whatever, or someone being trans and maybe not the most attractive, right? Or whatever it is. You can read all these allegories into the film. And I thought that was really unique. And I thought this movie was very well crafted and put together. And I overall really loved this film. And I honestly, if it wasn't so long, I might go see it again. Also, if I didn't have to work a lot of Thanksgiving hours. Oh God, I'm not prepared for that. So yeah, go see Wicked when it comes out. It's great. I really don't think there was any real major flaws. This is a movie that I'm very shocked about how good it was, and I might take a couple people to go see it again. I'm not sure. But holy shit, man. What a great movie.